You're about to hear something that should never be normal. Children in Gaza are dying. Not from bombs, not from bullets, but from hunger. Just think about that for a second. Imagine being a parent and having nothing, literally nothing, to feed your child. No clean water, nobody else, not even powdered milk, just empty hands. That's the reality right now in Gaza. And what's worse, even with international aid flights dropping supplies, it's still not enough. The United Nations calls the help reaching Gaza just a drop in the ocean. So what exactly is going on? Why is this happening in 2025? And what are people on the ground actually facing? Let's break it down. Over the weekend, BBC reporters flew into Gaza on an aid mission from Jordan. What they saw, it wasn't a successful delivery, it was heartbreak. As the plane landed and the supplies were unloaded, hundreds of desperate families rushed forward. Some held empty plastic containers, others carried crying children. They weren't there to watch. They were fighting for survival. That moment told the entire story. Aid is coming in, but it's not reaching everyone. And even when it does, it's barely enough for a single meal. Now here's something that might shock you. Many of these families aren't just hungry, they're starving. Health officials on the ground have confirmed that more children have died from malnutrition in the past few weeks. And it's not just one or two tragic cases. This is becoming widespread. You'd think that with all the global attention Gaza has received recently, help would be pouring in. But according to UN officials, aid efforts are facing massive obstacles. Blockades, delays, restrictions, and when it finally gets through, it's often too little and too late. Now, before we go any further, if this kind of reporting matters to you, real news, human stories, raw and unfiltered, do us a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next update. We break these stories down in a way that's real, simple, and respectful. And trust me, it helps way more than you think. Back to the story. One of the biggest problems is access. Most of Gaza's border crossings have been shut down or heavily restricted. That includes the Rafah crossing from Egypt, which used to be a lifeline. With land routes limited, airdrops became the only option. Countries like Jordan, Qatar, and the UAE have been sending small planes packed with food, water, and medical supplies. But here's the thing. These planes can only carry so much. When they drop packages, they don't always land safely. Sometimes they fall into water. Sometimes they land in places where people can't reach them. And sometimes, believe it or not, fights break out over the food before it even hits the ground. BBC reporters described one aid drop where children ran toward the landing spot barefoot, dodging rubble and sharp debris. A young boy, maybe 10 years old, tripped and scraped his leg wide open. But he didn't stop. He kept running because there was food and he wasn't going to miss his chance. That's the kind of desperation we're talking about here. And it's not just about food. People in Gaza don't have reliable electricity. They don't have clean water. Many have lost their homes entirely. Hospitals are overwhelmed. Parents are using their shirts as makeshift bandages. Kids are drinking from puddles. The images coming out of Gaza right now are the kind of scenes you expect from disaster movies. But this is real life, and it's happening while the world watches. So what's the international community doing? Well, the UN has been trying to coordinate a larger scale response. But it's complicated. Every shipment of aid has to be inspected. There are fears from the Israeli side about weapons being smuggled inside crates of food. That leads to delays. Meanwhile, people in Gaza are dying by the hour. Even when aid does arrive, distribution is another major challenge. Without proper vehicles or safe roads, the supplies don't always get to where they're needed most. In some areas, food is stolen before it reaches families. In others, the food just sits on the tarmac because there's no fuel to transport it. And all this while politicians argue in New York and Geneva over ceasefires, resolutions, and conditions. Let me be clear, this isn't about politics. This is about humanity. About children crying from hunger and mothers fainting from dehydration. These aren't just numbers in a report. They're real people with names, stories, dreams. Take Amal, for example. A 7-year-old girl living in a crowded shelter with 13 other family members. She hasn't had a full meal in days. Her mother says Amal wakes up every night crying from stomach pain, not because she's sick, but because she's hungry. Or Fadi, a 12-year-old who told BBC reporters that he used to play football in the streets. Now he spends his day looking for food. He stopped growing. His skin is pale. He says he dreams of eating rice with chicken. That's it, just rice and chicken. These stories are heartbreaking, but they're also a reminder. A reminder that for every aid drop that reaches Gaza, hundreds of people still go without. A reminder that food, water, and shelter are not luxuries. They're basic human rights. So what can actually be done? First, international pressure needs to continue. Governments must do more than just donate money. They have to push for guaranteed aid access. That means opening borders for aid, protecting aid workers, and ensuring that food and supplies get to those who need them most. Second, more countries and private donors need to step in. The aid drops from Jordan have helped, but they're not enough. We need a steady, large-scale operation that delivers food and water every day, not just once a week. Third, we need to keep talking about this. The more attention Gaza gets, the harder it becomes for leaders to ignore. Silence is dangerous. Awareness is power. And you, watching this video, you're already part of that awareness. Look, no one video can solve a humanitarian crisis, but it can make you care. It can make you think, and hopefully it can make you act. If you stayed with us this far, thank you. Please consider sharing this video. Send it to a friend. Post it on your socials. Let's use this platform to amplify the voices of those who have been forgotten. Because right now, Gaza doesn't need sympathy, it needs solutions. And those solutions start with telling the truth again and again until the world listens. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next one.